What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are enjoying the holidays. Today, as I'm recording this, is actually Christmas Day, so I just want to say Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying it, spending time with family, giving out gifts, receiving cool gifts. But yeah, today I just want to come out here and make a video on 10 common problems that you might encounter with 370Z. Now, some of these problems might be minor, but some are pretty major. So yeah, if you guys are thinking of getting a Z, or you just got a Z, I just want to let you know some common problems you might run into throughout your ownership. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, one of the first problems I want to talk about is actually one of the most major problems with the 370Zs, specifically the manuals only, and that's going to be the CSC failure, which is the clutch concentric slave cylinder. And when that happens, essentially when you push down the clutch pedal, one day it's just not going to come up at all. It's going to be stuck at the floor, and that obviously is not good. That's going to cause a lot of problems. And what happens is there's a small little cylinder plastic thing inside of your transmission, essentially, and since it's plastic, it kind of wears out pretty quickly. So one day it's going to crack and it's going to start to leak all that fluid, and essentially you're just not going to have any pressure in your clutch pedal whatsoever, and that's going to leave you stranded. Now, you have two solutions you can go for when you encounter this problem. The first one is simply going to be replacing the broken slave cylinder with the same OEM one. Now, this is the cheaper option, but it's kind of risky because you're going to be running into the same problem again eventually. Now, the second solution, which I would recommend, would be replacing your entire system with the CSC elimination kit, which is sold by Z1 Motorsports for around $500. It is a bit pricey, but not only pricey, it's a lot of work to get done. You have to drop the transmission and replace a whole bunch of parts to get it working, which could take a lot of time or a lot of money at a shop. But it is one thing I want to get done eventually, because I'm sure I'm going to encounter this problem eventually, so I'd rather fix the problem before it happens and get stranded. Another major problem with the 370Z platform has to do with its overheating issues. Now, the oil temps in this car tend to get pretty crazy really fast and really easily, which is kind of unfortunate. Under normal driving conditions, your car will be up to like 220 degrees just from normal driving, which is not normal and is not good, especially compared to other cars in its class. But the good thing is it can be pretty easily fixed. All you need is an oil cooler. You can get one for as cheap as like $450 on Z1 up to like $750, which is the best one. I don't have one yet. I plan to get one very soon. Yeah, the highest I've ever got the car to was like 240 on a canyon road, and that was under like very spirited driving. And just be aware the car will go into a limbo at 260, so always be aware of your oil temps. Make sure you never get past 260. Even if you're at like 240, pull over, let it cool down, open the hood. On to the third problem I want to talk about is going to be a little click that some Z owners tend to hear when driving their car, especially from the back side of the car, and specifically coming from the rear axle. And that's exactly where it's coming from. What happens over time is the nut that holds your rear axle tends to loosen over time. Even with the lock pin inside, it'll loosen, it'll start to shift side to side and make that clicking noise. Now, there's two ways to fix this. You can get the OEM one, but same thing's going to happen again eventually. The better solution is to get a Kawasaki nut. I will link down below. It's around $15 or less, and it's a special nut that has its own locking mechanism inside, so you won't need the lock pin, and it does a way better job than the OEM one. The fourth common problem with the 370Z is something that you might not expect, because I especially didn't expect it when I got the car, and it has to do with the paint. The paint is actually really weak on this car and chips very easily, especially compared to other cars I've had in the past. I'll show you some examples right here, especially on the front bumper. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but you have this chip there. My car's a little dirty, so it's hard to tell. Chips there, chips pretty much everywhere, all along the bumper. It's pretty annoying, and it's kind of dumb because you can't really fix it without getting the whole car repainted or getting a wrap or something. But yeah, it's something I really didn't expect. I expected this car to have premium paint, especially in the pearl white. It's a premium color. I thought it'd be pretty durable, but it's not. It's kind of unfortunate, but over time it's just going to get more and more chips and will have to be repainted. Moving on to the fifth problem with this car has to do with the fuel system. So this car actually has a chance of suffering from some fuel starvation, and this specifically happens on hard right turns. I guess the way the fuel tank is set up, if you're running low on gas, like less than half a tank, the gas will flow left and right. When you're making the hard right turn, it won't be able to suck in the gas, therefore starving your car of the gas. Now, I've never encountered this problem myself, probably because I have a pretty good habit of topping off on my gas, never letting it run too low. But there is a fix for this if you do encounter this problem. The Z1 Motorsports sells an anti-starvation kit, but it is pricey. It's $550. Now, personally, I don't see the worth in that. My tip would just be making sure your gas is always topped off pretty good. Like, don't let it get less than like a quarter. You should never encounter the problem if you keep that a good habit. Now, while we're on the topic of fuel problems with this car, there is another one that's pretty minor but still is a problem, and it has to do with the fuel gauge. The fuel gauge in this car can be pretty inaccurate for some people. For me, it hasn't been too big of a problem. Like I said, I'm pretty good at keeping my fuel topped up, but some owners have reported that their car gauge would say that they're not even completely empty on gas, but the car would die. So as you see, that could be a pretty big problem. You might get stranded somewhere. But my tip, like I said before, would just be keep your fuel topped up. For example, sometimes like my range will say 100 miles and I'll drive for like 5 and it'll go down to like 75. Like, where are those? I'd be driving normally too. So for example, like if you go in here, fuel economy, like it says 111 miles right now and my fuel gauge is right there. Sometimes I'll drive home, which is like 2 miles away right now, and it'll go down to like 100 miles. So it's pretty inaccurate. I wouldn't trust the reading on this. Just make sure your fuel is pretty topped up. Don't let it get less than a quarter, and you should be fine. The next problem that a lot of Z owners tend to have is the rear differential bushings failing. Now, this just happens over time. You know, a lot of use of just shifting and the car being under pressure. But these bushings, I guess, tend to fail pretty commonly among a lot of Z owners. And the way you notice this is if you take a look at your rear diff. If you want to get under the car, you might see some fluid leaking, or you might just notice while driving, it's just like some harsh driving. You might hear some noises in the back. But this is actually a pretty big issue because it's not easy to fix. Now, Nissan doesn't even allow you to fix this without replacing your whole rear subframe. But good thing you don't have to go to Nissan for this. Z1 sells some rear bushings, some solid rear bushings, so they're going to be a lot stronger than the OEMs. But they're around $160, which isn't too bad. But the problem is installing them. They can be pretty hard to install. You got to get under the car, take out the old bushing, and put in the new one, which can be pretty tedious process, but it can be done. So I would recommend that versus getting a whole new rear subframe, which would cost an arm and a leg. Next problem we're going to talk about has to do with the throttle bodies and mass airflow sensors of this car. So I guess the Z's tend to get pretty dirty pretty fast within the throttle bodies, so they do recommend cleaning it around every 30 to 50k miles. So I'm actually going to be doing that pretty soon. I've never done it on this car, and it's at about 50,000 miles right now. So that's actually going to be my next video, probably cleaning out the mass airflow sensors and throttle bodies. But this car does have 2 throttle bodies right here and right here, and the mass airflow sensors are here and here. So I'm probably going to be doing that very soon. But yeah, it is recommended doing those. If you don't do those often and they get really dirty, you might have some issues with idling in your car. It might idle too high, and it could and in extreme conditions, it can put your car into a limp mode, which you don't want to have to happen. So yeah, I would recommend checking those every once in a while, not too often. Like 50,000 miles is a long time, but yeah, just make sure they're cleaned. If you've never checked them before, check them out and clean them. This next problem is a problem that caught the most attention to me when I first got the car, and it might not even be a problem for some of you or some Z owners, but for me it was kind of a problem. I didn't really enjoy it, and it has to do with the clutch pedal feel. The way the clutch pedal is in this car stock is it's very rough and like very stiff. Like the way when you would release the clutch pedal slowly, it pushes your foot back, which can make for a pretty uncomfortable driving experience, especially on long drives. And I really didn't like this, so I was looking for solutions all over, and I came upon the RJM Performance clutch pedal assembly, which is what I have in the car right now. If we take a look, and this was really a game changer for this car and made the driving experience so much more better. If we get under here, as you can see, it is an adjustable clutch pedal. You see those, there's some nuts right there. You can adjust the clutch pedal in any position you like, but that wasn't really the main point for me. The main reason I got it is it changes the whole mechanism of how the clutch pedal engages, versus the OEM where it would push your foot all the way back. This one is just a slow, retreat. Like, it's not crazy, it's not super rough, which is how I like it. And it made driving so much better, which I would really recommend. It was around $300 when I got it. I don't know what the price is right now, but yeah, if you suffer with that problem, you don't like the way the clutch pedal feels in the stock car, I would really recommend that. There's also other solutions like removing the OEM clutch spring. You could take it out completely and replace it with a new one, or just take it out completely and leave it as is. That's what I did before I bought the RJM Performance clutch pedal, and that helps a little bit, but it's still not perfect. The next problem can be pretty annoying for most Z owners, and it has to do with the rear hatch struts. these are known to give out eventually. Now mine have been holding up pretty well. You know, these are still the OEM ones, I've never replaced them. But yeah, a lot of Z owners, they report these failing on them, and it's pretty common. So you can upgrade these with some upgraded ones that are a lot stronger on Z1. They're less than $100, I believe. Yeah, if yours are giving out, I would recommend reinstalling them, because it can honestly be pretty dangerous, especially if you're working on something in the back of the car. Let's say you're in the trunk, your head's underneath the trunk, and they give out, this could just fall, land on your head. This is really heavy, so that could honestly hurt pretty bad. So if yours are giving out, please install them just to keep yourself safe. But yeah, pretty easy fix. We're on to the last problem now, and the reason I left this one for last is because this is a problem that mainly affects the older models of the 370Z, mainly the 2009 to 2011 models, and that was a steering wheel lock failure. So what would happen is your steering wheel, you try to get in your car, start your car, and your steering wheel would be locked completely and your car wouldn't start, leaving your car undrivable essentially. And the only way to fix it would be able to take it to a dealer and have them replace the whole steering wheel system. I forgot what it was, but yeah, but now there's a lot more affordable solutions. It's simply literally pulling a fuse. You simply have to pull a fuse, look up videos, there's a ton of videos on it now. You just have to find the specific fuse that is responsible for locking your wheel, pull it out, and that's it, your car's fixed. So it's an easy fix. Well guys, there you have it. That's the 10 most common problems for the 370Z platform that you might encounter. I really hope this video helps you guys out. I try to include as many solutions as I can, but if you guys have one that I didn't mention, list it down in the comments. That way other people see it and I can see it as well. I personally haven't encountered all of these problems. Some I have, but most of them I gathered from forums and YouTube videos that I see a lot of people complain about. I'll list all the fixes and mods down below in the description. A lot of them are from Z1, some are from other sites. Yeah, hopefully those guys help you out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't so already. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.